Hey guys, it's Ashley Francis with Blue Sage Counseling and Wellness, and today I want to talk about the links and the benefits between exercise and mental health. I think that this is a really important conversation to have because it's just not talked about enough in mental health. Now, we all know that when we go to our regular doctor, that it's pretty customary for them to ask us questions about our habits as it pertains to health. So when we're there, we get asked about our sleep, we get asked about diet, exercise, sometimes relationships, but they usually go through all of the aspects of health. But this is not really coming up very often in the therapy room. And I think that we are doing a disservice there because there is tremendous evidence that supports the link between exercise and increased mental health. So I want to talk today about some of the benefits. What are they specifically? And then I also want to talk about how exercise itself can help bolster mental health. And then we'll talk about some specific things that you can start doing now to start feeling better. So first, let's start with what are some of the actual benefits that we experience when we engage in exercise. It helps to improve mood. It helps us sleep better. We have more energy throughout the day. We have more focus and concentration. And it also helps to buffer our minds for stress. So a lot of these are straightforward. I want to talk a little bit more about what does it mean when we talk about buffering for stress. So let me use an example. As many of you know, I set out on a journey about 2 years ago to start just getting better. I wanted to improve my overall health, but the biggest focus was to help with my mental health. I'd been on Lexapro for 6 years. I was 85 pounds overweight. I was isolating myself. I was in bad relationships and I was just over it. And I looked around and I thought, there's got to be a better way to do this. My antidepressants weren't working the same way that they were. And I just got curious, what would happen if I tried a natural approach and what would that look like? So that's when I set out to eat better and I started taking care of myself, relying on my support system more, getting out of my comfort zone a lot. But most importantly, I established a really good, consistent exercise routine. And I have found that to be the single most helpful aspect of my plan that has helped to maintain mental health and sustain it over time. So I want to use an example of something that I noticed during a challenge that I had engaged in about 2 months ago, which was a 30-day challenge to do a 2-minute plank. And if you don't know what a plank is, it is a position where you're holding up your body weight with your arms and your legs, and your body is like a board, like a piece of plank. It's pretty challenging. So I started out with I think maybe 30 seconds or something like that. And my strategy to be able to get to 2 minutes was I would go every day up to my threshold, and then I would increase by adding 3 to 5 seconds. And I would do that every day, and I would reach that point of my arms are shaking, my mind is just screaming at me, it's telling me to give up, I'm in pain, but I knew that in order to meet that goal, I had to push past my comfort zone and my threshold in order to get there. What I started to notice was that, of course, my physical strength was getting better, but I would also notice that throughout the day, my emotional, mental strength was also increasing too. So I got curious about that and I wanted to figure out, what's going on there? And what I figured out is that when I was engaging in this difficult task, the very first thing in the morning, it was the hardest thing that I would do for the day. It helped everything that happened after that just pale in comparison. I could handle more difficult situations that were either stressful or upsetting or depressing because I'd already done something that was really hard in the morning, and I'd proven to myself that I can do hard things. But not only that, here's the cool thing from a biological perspective, is that I was rewiring my brain to be able to make the association that when I hit my threshold, I can actually go a little bit more than I thought I could. Actually, we can do a lot more than our brains tell us that we can. But I was doing this in an incremental fashion. And you also want to make sure that you're not pushing too hard too fast, because then you risk injury. Nonetheless, it was rewiring the brain to be able to have this understanding that right when you want to quit, right when you want to give up, you push just a little bit more, and you're going to prove to yourself that you can do it. And that translates to emotional toughness, mental toughness, and it's such an important facet of overall emotional mental health. Those are some of the benefits of exercise as it pertains to mental health. Now I want to talk about some of the studies that have demonstrated exactly how exercise helps with mental health. I feel like I'm saying mental health a lot. Okay, so the first study was when the participants were exercising, and obviously when you exercise, your heart rate increases, your breath rate increases, and then your level of perspiration as well. Anybody that has experienced a panic attack knows exactly what those types of things feel like in a panic state. But you also know what they feel like in an exercise state, which is two different experiences. But even though those two experiences are different, the physical behaviors or the physical responses, which is the heart rate, breath rate, and perspiration, they're the same. So what they found is that when people engage in consistent exercise, where their heart rate is up, the breath rate is up, the perspiration level is up, there again, it started to rewire the brain to start associating that when these things are happening in my body, I'm actually safe. Because if your heart rate, breath rate, and perspiration are up and you don't exercise, the mind and the body has no idea how to make sense of that. So it automatically has a tendency to default to danger. It's going to see these types of things, or it's going to have that association between elevation and these physiological symptoms with danger. So when we're engaging in consistent exercise, it helps to cut that danger association and starts to rewire a new association with safety. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, I like that too. And the second study was that they gave participants carbon dioxide, which is known to bring on feelings of lightheadedness or faintness, not to the point of passing out, but just to induce a feeling of anxiety. And all participants were also sensitive to anxiety. And what they found is that the folks that engaged in regular exercise and were given this carbon dioxide, they did not have a panic attack. They experienced some symptoms of anxiety, but they were able to handle it. But they found that the group that did not engage in physical exercise had panic attacks. This is such a great way to be able to demonstrate that when we're engaging in that consistent exercise, it's really helping to make these specific associations with being able to handle things that are difficult. If we don't have some sort of way to train the brain and the body to be able to know what to do with difficult behaviors and symptoms, then it's automatically going to default to something bad. It's called negative bias. We're always looking for something negative so that we are aware of the types of things that are a potential danger to our survival. We have to do something that's very purposeful to remind ourselves that we are safe when you are sensitive to anxiety. That's not always such a difficult task for people that don't struggle with anxiety, unfortunately. Now, let's talk about some of the tactical strategies, the things that we can do to get started right away. So right now, during COVID, this is a really difficult thing. I've talked to a lot of clients and people in my personal life that have said that in the beginning they were kind of struggling with the gyms being closed and not being able to get enough exercise. But I kind of noticed a really beautiful thing happening, and that is that people have just found other ways to get their bodies moving. And I was reading an article the other day that was saying something about how the purchase of fitness equipment and bikes and just outdoor activities has increased since COVID because people are stuck at home and they're tired of being stuck at home. So they're just kind of defaulting to exercise. So even though in the beginning it was very panic stricken and people didn't know what to do, there's been a lot of folks, a majority of us have adapted really well in being able to do things at home or do things outside and think outside of the box. And it's really inspiring. I think some of the smaller things that people can focus on, if you haven't already, is just making sure that you take small breaks throughout the day. Since we're all, not all, but a lot of us are working from home, there's a tendency to sit in front of that computer screen or the TV or our phones, and we can just sit there for hours, and it is not good for us. So it's good to take a 10-minute break about once an hour or once every 2 hours. Shoot, even if you could just do it a couple times a day, it's still going to be better than nothing. And what we're doing is that we're getting the heart rate up, we're getting the blood flow moving, and that's just better for overall health in general. But it's also good to help stimulate some of that serotonin and help us to lift our mood. When we sit back down, we're actually going to be able to concentrate more, and we're going to have more patience. I don't know about you, but I've definitely had some times where I've sat in front of the computer for a few hours without moving, and I just get irritable. And nothing seems to go right. And then before you know it, you're saying it was a bad day. And it really had a lot to do with the fact that I didn't get up. I didn't move my body. So I'm definitely guilty of this from time to time. Especially during COVID, it's really, really important to make sure that we're getting up and we're moving our bodies. Stretching is also a good thing to do to be able to keep ourselves limber. Not just that, but the experts also recommend that the minimum of what we need to do to maintain health is 150 minutes of exercise per week. And this can be through moderate exercise that we do for 30 minutes at a time, 5 times a week, or vigorous exercise that we do for 20 minutes at a time, 3 times a week. So some of the things that I have heard that a lot of folks are doing is YouTube. That's one of my favorite things to do. I'm doing a 12-week program right now by Heather Robertson. And she's a fitness instructor that has a YouTube channel, and I've just loved it. It's been really good. It's a vigorous workout, so if you're at that level, I'd recommend checking her out. There's also Yoga with Adriene. I really like her. That would qualify more under the moderate category. But there's all kinds of options out there. The point is to just get moving. And if you're just starting out, you don't even have to start with moderate. Doing the idea of just getting up for 10 minutes at a time, a few times a day, is already going to start bolstering mental health. You don't even need that much to start feeling just a little bit better. And this can be particularly helpful too if you're suffering from major depression. And Lord knows, when we have major depression, you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to do anything. That's why I recommend just being able to get up, stretch your legs, make a lap around the room, and then go right back to bed. If you're that bad off right now, it's okay. There's still things that you can do. Kind of all over the place right now. Anyway, so some examples of what you can do are walking. I'd recommend walking more at a brisk pace, as you're going to get more bang for your buck when you do that. You can do skipping, you can do dancing, you can get playful and creative with it. You can do a bar class via YouTube, or there's also virtual gyms that have become really popular. Yoga classes, Pilates classes, dance fitness, Zumba classes, cardio funk. There's all kinds of exercise classes out there that are perfect for this. Point is just to get moving and to be consistent. And if you're just starting out, start slow and start moving your way up. That will do it for today's discussion on exercise and mental health. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And also let me know what other subjects you guys want to hear about. Just let me know by putting those in the comments below as well.